Hello and welcome. You're watching To The Point. Rahul Gandhi's surprise decision to take a few weeks' leave to reflect on recent events has left the Congress party stunned. So far, no one in the party has spoken on the subject beyond the odd sentence or two. But tonight, Congress General Secretary Digvijay Singh, a man considered close to Mr. Gandhi, has agreed to answer a range of questions on Mr. Gandhi's sudden decision and many of its implications and interpretations, including the question, has this undermined Rahul Gandhi's credibility? That's the big interview in part 2. But first, the new government that will take over in Jammu and Kashmir. Yesterday evening, the BJP and PDP announced that they've agreed upon an agenda for alliance and will form a coalition government next week. Although the details of their alliance are still officially awaited, how significant is this agreement between two parties who have almost polar opposite views in ideological terms? And do newspaper reports of the agreement suggest that the BJP has made important concessions to secure for the first time a position in government in Srinagar? Joining me now to discuss the BJP-PDP agreement is the editor of Rising Kashmir, Shujat Bukhari, the Hindustan Times principal correspondent Pirzada Ashik, the well-known intellectual and former Vice-Chancellor Siddique Wahid, and BJP spokesperson Hina Shafi Butt. Siddique Wahid, the BJP and PDP have agreed upon an agenda for alliance or a common minimum. They will form a coalition government in Jammu and Kashmir. Would you say that this is a historic understanding between two parties who are otherwise, in ideological terms, polar opposites?
Well, I best start off with my bias, and that is that I've been against this alliance right from the get-go. And I think that as we go through with it, it's first of all, it's taken 2 months plus or whatever. And secondly, I think it's also, rather than an alliance, it seems to be a series of adjustments for power, and therefore, which is slightly different from saying an alliance. Maybe the common minimum program, which I don't know very much about, and none of us know at the moment, will reveal other things that it maybe sort of can. But I think that the fact that it is a series of adjustments for power may translate into it being sort of slightly off kilter.
So you're suggesting that this is not so much a historic understanding between parties who are polar opposites in ideological terms, it's actually an arrangement of political convenience.
Correct. And what really truly would have been historic, for example, is that if we didn't go with the assumption that Jammu needed to be represented by Hindus and Kashmir by Muslims.
Well, except for the fact that Kashmir has elected only Muslims and Jammu has elected only Hindus or largely Hindus.
Correct. But overall, the largest political number of seats have been gained by one political party. And that political party had the option of allying itself with others who were...
But that didn't happen. So let's not go into the imponderables of what would have happened if something else had happened rather than this. Let's stick to what's happened. So, Shujat Bukhari, I'm going to approach that question of whether this is historic or just political convenience in a slightly different way with you. The BJP has always had a troubled relationship with Kashmir, stretching back to 1953 when Shyama Prasad Mukherjee died in jail in that state. So today, how significant is the fact that the BJP is poised to be part of a government in Srinagar? Oh, we don't seem to have Shujat Bukhari. Pirzada Ashik, let me put that question to you. Answer that question for me, please.
I think, I don't think BJP is extending any concessions to PDP. The reason is why I'm saying this. I think they are gaining, they are making two big points in the country. One, to the Muslims of the country, that they can rule a Muslim majority state like Kashmir. Also to the Pakistan, that they are coming to Kashmir as stakeholders.
So, are you therefore saying to me that the fact that the BJP is going to be poised to form a government or be part of a government in Srinagar, in view of the fact that just 60 years ago their leader Shyama Prasad Mukherjee died in jail at that state, that is not an important development, that is not a significant thing?
It's a watershed moment for Jammu and Kashmir to have BJP, being in an alliance and ruling a state which Karan, how troubled this has been. But my worry is, I mean, there has been no celebrations in Jammu. Neither there has been any celebration in Kashmir Valley over this announcement made by Amit Shah in Delhi yesterday. So that reflects the mood in J&K, in fact.
In other words, this is something that journalists see as significant, but the people on the ground are not celebrating, at least not in terms of their response. I've got Shujat Bukhari back. Let me put this to you, Shujat Bukhari. Although we don't have the details of what the two parties have agreed upon, from all reports it seems that Mufti Mohammad Sayeed will be Chief Minister for the full 6-year term and Nirmal Singh of the BJP will be the Deputy Chief Minister. Now the Mufti has told the Hindu newspaper that a Mufti-Modi alliance will send out a powerful message that will change the way the Modi government is perceived, A, by minorities in India and B, by the international community. Do you agree with the Modi? Sorry, with Mr. Mufti?
See, I think as far as the common minimum program is concerned, we don't know even the broader contours of the common minimum program, which is likely to be released when Mufti and Modi meet takes place. But as far as this analogy is concerned, as far as this presumption is concerned that it's very important to take people of Jammu who have voted against BJP, who have voted for BJP, I'm sorry, we have to carry them along. I think it is, in a sense, that it is important to reintegrate the state and to have the regional integration. But the question is that at the end of the day, will people of Jammu really see Mufti Mohammad Sayeed as a sincere leader of Jammu and Kashmir? I mean, we have seen the past examples of Farooq Abdullah appeasing people of Jammu. And I would say, I mean, even to the extent that Hindus of Jammu, and then also Ghulam Nabi Azad, who actually did all the politics on this pretext that Kashmir has dominated Jammu and I am there for you. But you saw the fate of Ghulam Nabi Azad in Lok Sabha election in Udhampur when he lost to Jitinder Singh. Then you also saw Chenab Valley, his own home turf, where he lost miserably. So I think it's very difficult. I mean, I would agree with Siddiq to the extent that yes, it is a marriage of convenience, and I wouldn't say that it's a historic opportunity. It's an uneasy alliance, but only question is that the time will tell us that to what extent Mufti will deliver in Kashmir.
Let's, Hina Shafi Bhatt, focus to begin with on the two contentious issues that separated the parties. Now, we don't exactly know what they've agreed on either with regard to Article 370 or AFSPA, but there are newspaper reports that give you a reasonable idea. I'll start with Article 370. I'll come to AFSPA after that. According to the Indian Express, the two sides have agreed not to disturb the current special status of the state, and they're saying that without any direct reference to Article 370. But doesn't that mean that behind the clever language, actually the BJP has either moved away from or at least agreed to put on the back burner for 6 years its traditional demand for the abrogation of Article 370? And that is a fairly significant concession your party is making to the PDP.
No, actually, as we all know, it has almost taken 2 months for this alliance to happen. It was like two different ideological parties coming together to make a government in Jammu and Kashmir. And I would say it's historic for BJP at least. And definitely such two parties, I am keeping my fingers crossed.
Let's not go back to generalities. Answer the specific question. Behind the clever language of agreeing not to disturb the constitutional status of the state, aren't you actually saying that for 6 years you will put your demand for abrogation of 370 on the back burner? In fact, before you answer, let me remind you, Rajnath Singh, the Home Minister, has more or less made this crystal clear when he says there is no plan to delete Article 370.
Yeah, definitely. There was a demand from PDP that there should be a status quo on the Article 370. So to make a government in Jammu and Kashmir for the normal, as people demanded, that there should be government formation, and we were already ready for the government formation in Jammu and Kashmir. So we both had to bend down somewhere. Both the parties have discussed all these points very clearly. That's why it has taken such a long time.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. I'm going to stop you there, Dr. Bhatt. You're being a little bit of a political spokesperson who's slightly cleverly deflecting the answer to the question I pointedly put to you, and that's your credit. She says both parties have bent down. But as I read it, I'm going to ask you for confirmation, the concessions such as they are actually made by the BJP to the PDP. I don't know what the PDP is conceded, because when you agree to maintain the constitutional status, what the BJP is also saying is that during the next 6 years, when they are in alliance, they will not be demanding abrogation of Article 370.
Two things on that, Karan. I think first is that saying that we will not delete Article 370 is not really a concession. It's making a virtue out of necessity. Because if you...
It is a concession because it's been part of the BJP National Manifesto. I agree that they didn't raise it during the Kashmir campaign.
Correct.
But it's part of the National Manifesto and it's their party position for the last 50 years.
But I would still contend that it's not really a concession. What it is actually recognizing the rule of law and recognizing that within the Constitution of India, that is undeletable.
Well,
unless
except
it
that
is,
their
of course,
demand
the
was
state.
that they want to change what you call the rule of law, and no longer are they insisting on changing it, at least for the next 6 years.
Well, okay, in that sense, yes, it does become a clear concession.
And it's a concession made by the BJP to the PDP.
Correct.
Let me bring you in, Ashik Pirzada, and raise with you the handling of the AFSPA. Now again, we don't have official details, but unfortunately not your paper, but the Indian Express, one of your rivals, has a fairly detailed suggestion to give the readership. They say that the two parties have agreed to denotify the Disturbed Areas Act wherever they believe there is sustained peace. Now, you know and I know that once the Disturbed Areas Act is denotified, AFSPA in those denotified areas ceases to be. So once again, doesn't this suggest that behind clever language, the BJP has accepted that there will be areas where sustained peace is established, where the Disturbed Areas Act will be denotified, and therefore AFSPA will disappear? That's another BJP concession to the PDP.
Absolutely, Karan. But I think, Karan, this coalition has come together to deliver besides Sadak Bijli Pani in J&K. And two, if you look at the details I know of the CMP, Common Minimum Program, is they are not, first, Karan, this is an agreement between two political parties, between PDP and BJP. My worry is how will this alliance take up these issues with the center, where BJP is ruling.
Well, just a moment.
These are two different things.
Surely, when Amit Shah is the signatory to the thing and he's the national president, then there can't be a problem taking it up with the center, because he's the president of the party at the center.
But I think there is a rider from a BJP that unless army is on board, they will not revoke Armed Force Special Powers Act. I don't think there will be any mention of withdrawal or revocation in the Common Minimum Program, Karan.
Well,
I think it will be a very layered document where they will look at the scope to remove Disturbed Area Act from peaceful areas, and that is the concession which Mufti want to give to people of Kashmir to establish credentials for the democratic process which is gaining momentum in J&K, Karan. I think PDP and BJP has to deliver in J&K. And this will be one big concession which they have to extend.
Let me put your doubt to Sujat Bukhari, because what you're hearing from Pirzada Ashik is that the whole thing hinges on whether you can declare specified areas as being areas where there is sustained peace. And if that declaration depends upon the army taking a call, then there's probably every likelihood that this clever language is actually illusory. It is designed to convey that the PDP has got a concession, but in fact, if the army will be the one to determine whether there is an area with sustained peace, there's every chance the army will not agree. In which case, if there's no sustained peace, there'll be no revocation or denotification of Disturbed Areas Act, and AFSP will continue. So, is this an illusion to suggest movement forward in favor of the PDP rather than a real movement? What's your answer, Sujat Bukhari?
Absolutely. I think Armed Forces Special Powers Act is a very big issue as far as Jammu and Kashmir is concerned. We know that it's a big issue as far as northeastern states are also concerned. But in Jammu and Kashmir, if you look back, slightly back, I mean, on 21st of October 2012, Umar Abdullah, when he was the Chief Minister, he declared that AFSPA would go very soon. And even, I mean, till the last day of his Chief Minister, he could not do anything because there was strong resentment.
Can I interrupt? Sujat, what you're overlooking is that as Chief Minister, he could have, if he wanted to, denotified the disturbed
No, no, no,
areas.
no.
He didn't do it. Here is a new alliance which is actually claiming they could and will denotify. I'm only asking you, is the basis of it illusory because of the condition of sustained peace to be decided by the army?
No, no, Karan, I'm saying something different. I'm saying something what Pirzada Ashik said. I'm saying that he announced it because then Home Minister Chidambaram was on his side and he fully supported him. But there was army which put its foot down and it could not materialize. That's where lies the issue, that if they have, even if there's a language at all, that if Mufti Mohammad Sayeed is in a position to get some kind of withdrawal of Armed Forces Special Powers Act, then he would be seen as somebody who would be delivering on the ground. Because the issue is that if army has the veto, then it becomes difficult. So there lies the test lies there for Mufti, that whether he will be in a position to dilute the stand taken by army so far. So that's where lies the support of the
I want to bring in Hina Bhatt at this point, because the whole thing, Hina Bhatt, hinges on whether this declaration that a certain area has got sustained peace is a declaration that requires the army to take a call. In other words, as Sujat says, are you giving the army a hidden veto? Answer that specifically. Does the army have a call to take or not?
No, it has just been discussed by the senior people from my party and from the PDP, and there is definitely a very straight solution for AFSPA, as it will be soon seen in Common Minimum Program.
I'm asking you for clarity, because I think you're coming close to giving me a clear answer, but I want you to be crystal clear. You're therefore saying this is not an issue on which the army has to take a call, the army doesn't have a veto. Give me a yes or no.
Yeah, definitely army has the veto in this, but
so
there has been some way out.
You've just done a U-turn. You went from clarity to muddiness within one answer. All right. You now made it clear the army does have a veto. The army does have to take a call. So I'm going to end on this.
But
have
Karan,
they
I want to make a
devised a
small
form
point
of language that the Indian Express interpreted to suggest that in fact there is movement, and once again a concession by the BJP to the PDP, and now we discover from Ashik Pirzada and Sujat's cleverness and Hina's honesty that in fact hidden behind the language is an army veto. And chances are that the army will exercise that veto in favor of not withdrawing AFSPA.
Absolutely. And I think I mean, it doesn't really take, it's not rocket science to say that the army has had veto, the intelligence sort of community has had veto powers in Kashmir all along. So yes, I mean, I think that there are those sort of caveats that are built in. So
does this then, because I'm running out of time and I want to have to make this the last question, does this then in a way confirm your view that far from this being a historic understanding of two polar opposite parties, this is an agenda of convenience to perhaps paper over the differences, suggest that they've come to an agreement, but when you scratch the surface you discover, as we did in the case of AFSPA, although Article 370 may be different, that in fact they're handing over the veto to the army and nothing much is changing.
Agreed completely. And I would add to that what we need to wait for is the Common Minimum Program. They've said that they'll publish it. We need to read between the lines and make sure, because otherwise I think it'll be a teetering alliance of some sort right from the beginning.
We should have the Common Minimum Program if all is accurate by at least the first, when the new Chief Minister is to be sworn in. My thanks to you for coming to the studio. My thanks also to my other guests.